John chapter 11, introduction. We did the reading part in the Cameron Highlands, like for all the chapters of the book of John. And now we are here in Melaka at the St. Paul's Church on the hilltop here. And standing at a few graves. The reason for this setting is because this chapter has to do with Lazarus and the death of Lazarus. Okay, in this case there is a... This tombstone was erected by the brothers officers to memory of Lieutenant William Charles Law, who was the 21st Regiment, and he died on the 2nd of February 1847. So this is when it was a British colony. So just go to some of the other sites, other graves. There's actually a few in that direction as well, but at the moment they are working paving, so you can't go through there. So just look at these ones that's over here. Okay, and this is well for Robert James, who died in 1846, 45 years of age. And this is for a whole group. Isabel Caroline Valge, I don't know, it's died in 1853. And Evans, who died in 1857. And Robert and Anna in 1857. Oh, and this one is this Robert Malcolm was 2 months old when he died. And this Edward Nigel Evans was 3 years old when he died. Louisa was 4 years old when she died. Frederick Theodore Valge was 1 year old when he died. And so, yeah, the one who put this up, the stone up, was their father and grandfather, J.H. Valge. So a number of these children, well, actually all of the children and seemingly the wife. Oh no, they're all just children, 9 months, 2 months. Oh, the Anna Mary, Mary. She was 24 years old. The rest were all just kind of like very, very young. So yeah, that is death, right? You die, some die at the age of 1 year, others at the age of 40, some at the age of 25. But we all die. Okay, others age of 90, 100, some reach that. If you're Japanese, you can go a little bit over that. But this is what we know. We go there and we don't come back. Now, except if you're Hindu or Buddhist, understand it, they believe in reincarnation, so you kind of be reborn. Okay, but for the vast majority of people, we don't believe in reincarnation, so you die and that's that. If you're a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim, you don't believe in atheists and all those others as well. They don't believe that there's life after, atheists and Sanskrit, they don't believe there's life after death. Jews, Muslims and Christians both believe in life after death. Well, the majority it is. But understandably, so Buddhists and Muslims, they believe now then in Buddhists and Hindus, ultimately in reincarnation. Right, so this is, like I said, what we know. They come here, and this is where they stay, right? They don't come out. They don't come out of this grave anymore. It's not as if this thing will break open now and someone will walk out. We don't expect that. Now in history, there were times when this happened. The times after the crucifixion of Jesus, when the graves opened, the people came out. And in the end, in the final day, when Jesus comes back, then he will resurrect everyone from the dead. And in all these tombs, the bones, everything in it, these babies, the bones will be put together. Okay, I'm not now going to discuss the question what's happened to babies after death, do they go to heaven or hell or whatever, and I'm not going to discuss which age you kind of die. Will you always be a baby then, like these kids here, or 1 year old? It's not, I don't know anyhow, but that's anyhow not part of this introduction I wanted to do. So yeah, this is the two times kind of in history. Yeah, there were that vision that Ezekiel saw, but that's just a vision, right? That was not the real happening. And so this is what we know. And then Jesus ultimately, understandably, 3 days. But then Lazarus in this chapter, 4 days in the cave with a stone enrolled in front, and then coming back from the dead. Okay, so what happened? Lazarus was got sick, and now just because Jesus loved Lazarus, that doesn't make Lazarus one of the disciples of Jesus, a beloved disciple of John, who wrote John. I know the theologian who says he used the reasoning because Lazarus, John, the fisherman, would not have known the high priest, for example, while Lazarus might have, since they were rich and they were close to Jerusalem, and it states here that Jesus loved him. Now it states in John 3:16 that for God so loved the world, okay, and that makes all of us, those who believed, loved, and not one specific one. So that doesn't prove anything, and all those other things can be shut down as well. So I didn't believe 1 second that Lazarus was one of the 12 disciples at all. And it is just the writer of John, because you see in the other Gospels the disciple John, and then ultimately in this book we don't see. And I already explained that it's just plain simple to do with the fact that it is too close to all these things happening, and there would have been confusion between John the Baptist, which John didn't mention as John the Baptist, and himself, right? So he was not that well known yet, like John the Baptist was, so therefore he wrote of it. And understandably as well, that is how God changed him. He didn't want to put, he was just sort of Deo Gloria kind of a person, just about God, ultimately pointing towards Jesus. Right. So with that all out of the way, and just one last mention, we plan to go to Indonesia today, but we will do a little bit about that later. Right, so John and Lazarus is there. So he got sick, he died, they buried him. They sent news, Jesus was up in the north, they sent news for him, and he tarried 2 more days. And then he said, let's go down. Because Lazarus is sleeping, and they're like, oh, that's good news, because when a sick person is sleeping, that normally in general means it is on the mend. Okay, and so ultimately that's not what Jesus meant. They didn't understand it then, right? So they went down. And when he got there, Lazarus was dead for 4 days. Martha came out to meet him, spoke with him. Jesus asked, do you believe? And she said, yes, and the resurrection. And last yes, and Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Okay, that I am is going to come out in this chapter. So it was like the fourth of fifth one. And okay, so still 2 left after this. And Martha then went back to call Mary. Mary came out, and the others thought that she's going to the grave to cry, and they went with, kind of. Jesus saw the whole group of them coming, crying, and actually then he said that according to some who don't know better, this is the shortest verse in the Bible. It's not the shortest verse in the Bible. It all depends on the language you use. Okay, so if you like, for example, Russian, then actually in Russian Bible, the one of the 10 commandments, do not steal, is just "Не кради," which is shorter than the "On zaplakal" in this case. Okay, so that is actually a shorter verse there in Exodus chapter 20 than this verse here in John chapter 11. So if you say this is the shortest verse in the Bible, you need to say it's the shortest verse in the English Bible or the Portuguese Bible. I don't know if it's shorter in the Portuguese or not, but I'm just saying you need to clarify, because not the shortest verse in any language Bible there is. Okay, right. So they went to the gravesite, and Jesus called out to Lazarus. Lazarus came out. He was alive. Martha didn't want to open the grave because it was like stinking already. And Jesus anyhow asked, do you believe? So she, in the end, they rolled, he came out. The reaction of the religious leaders to that was, or at least some of them believed. And the other general reaction was, no, we need to get rid of this guy and the guy rose from end of Lazarus, that is. And they gathered the meeting, and they were like, "Oh, okay, this is really getting very, very difficult here now. It's really getting dangerous. Everybody will follow him, and then the Romans will come and take everything from us, as they ultimately did in the year 70. But we'll get back to that. And then what? So one of the high priests, without knowing it, he prophesied. He said, "It's better that one dies for the nation than that the whole nation." Kind of. So, and actually, that is what Jesus is going to do, not just for the nation, but the sins of all of those who ultimately will believe in Him. Okay, and Jesus then, since his time was not there yet, but very close, he went back out of Jerusalem, where he stayed till, well, the final things are going to happen in Acts, going to happen in Jerusalem. But before the crucifixion, there is going to be this long Last Supper discourse. Just a quick thing: why did Jesus tarry for 2 days? And I will, hold on to that one. I will get back to that one, because even if he came immediately, Lazarus would have been dead already for 2 days. So tarrying for 2 days didn't make him die. He would have been anyhow. If he came immediately, he would have been dead. So you can think maybe why, and we will get back to that question in the chapter.